also known as the Cocky Crocheter. Welcome to my channel. This is the intro video that I'm posting to introduce you to who I am, as well as what my channel is all about. So thank you for dropping in. I'm so glad you stopped by to my little piece of real estate in the giant YouTube world. So a little about me is that I am, as of the recording of this video, finishing up my final year as a middle school math teacher. It was definitely huge passion for my life for the past 13 years, but I have found that I've needed to have a change in my life. I'm ready to move on to the next chapter, and so that is why now I am transitioning into becoming a full-time crochet pattern designer. So a lot of what my YouTube channel is going to be is I want to post videos that are tutorials and help support for my patterns specifically, because being a teacher, one of the things that I like to do is I like to help people see that, anything is possible if they put their mind to it and they want to try to learn, and they have an instructor who can explain things in a way that makes sense to them. And while I can't claim to be, perfect in every way, I mean, I know I'm called the Cocky Crocheter, I call myself that, but I also am humble enough to recognize that I'm not going to be the teacher for everybody. But what I do hope is that some of my patterns I know can be a bit on the complicated side with some, interesting techniques and cables and textures and stitches, because I learned something new. And so I want to try to incorporate those into my designs. And one thing I like to try to do is I want to help other people access that level so that they can also have these really nice crocheted articles that I think everybody deserves. So, for example, I'm currently wearing my Autumn Storm hoodie, which was such a lot of work to do. It's got cabling, it's got color work, it's got a cord, it's got buttonhole bands, it's got linen stitch, it's got increasing, decreasing, it's got a hood, it's got trim, it's got like all these features to it that really challenge not just me, but also all of my pattern testers. My tech editor even was like, but it's a beautiful hoodie. Like, in the end, you get this like gorgeous thing that you get to wear, and it is comfortable, it is soft, it is warm, and I made it. I'm so proud of myself, and I want everybody else to feel that pride as well. So one of the things I want to do is with my videos, I want people to feel like no crochet pattern is so hard that they can't do it. That if they look at a pattern, that even if it's not explaining really well, like in the pattern itself, they can at least come to one of my videos and see, oh, that's what he's trying to say. Because I know for some people, they need visual, they need to see it, they need to work it. They can't just read it on a piece of paper, even though that is very important and people still need to be able to do that. I want to provide as many tools as I can so that people can actually access my patterns and create the same things that I've enjoyed getting to create. The other thing about me is that I really like to experiment with some designs. If I see a stitch or a texture or an article of clothing that's been made that just kind of inspires me, I want to put that into a design. So I try to figure out what is the way to make it look really good. Like, it's not just shoehorned in or something that just like was an afterthought. It's like I want to take careful time to make sure that everything comes together and it has a good story to it, and it has a good theme, and it'll fit well, and it'll look nice, and not just be something that I'm just throwing together because I liked one thing about something. I was like, I'm going to make a whole design about that. So a lot of times you'll find that my designs will have, little stories behind them as to why I chose the style that I did, the colors that I did, things like that. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me and my crochet style. A lot of times people want to know, what is your story? What is your crochet story, your journey to this point? So if that's something you're interested in, feel free, listen. If not, you can go ahead and skip and just keep skipping to the next part. But how I started was I originally picked up a hook and a piece of yarn when I think I was about like 9 or 10 years old, because my mom did it and I watched her and was like, that looks fun and interesting. So she was very patient and taught me how to do a chain stitch, which of course, a lot of people do. And I was just making chains, like long chains. And I couldn't get past that. She tried to show me single crochet for some reason. It just blew my mind. I couldn't figure it out. So eventually put that down, didn't pick it up again until I was 18 years old. And then I was like, you know what? I'm seeing her still doing that. I'm like, I wonder if whether or not I could pick it up and try again. So she again patiently showed me, reminded me of the chain stitch. I was like, okay, it's not too bad. And then she showed me single crochet, and I don't know why it clicked then, but it was just the easiest thing. I was like, I don't understand why I struggled so hard just to do a single crochet. So from then, I did a bunch of single crochet scarf things because it was the one stitch I knew how to do. And then eventually I saw a pattern on a yarn label that I wanted to try. And my mom, she was very kind to show me how to read the pattern and then also teach me the stitches in the pattern because I had never done those. And I couldn't figure it out from just reading a description or going into a book or something like that. We also didn't have really reliable internet at the time. It was a long time ago. I'm just going to say that. And so I couldn't just look it up and look up videos of it. So she had to actually show me. And so I made that scarf and it was beautiful. It was a very lacy scarf, had shell fans. I'd learned double crochet. It was great. And from that moment, I basically was able to do everything on my own. Like I knew how to read a pattern. I knew the basic stitches. I could learn anything that I wanted. And I just took off with it. I was making all kinds of scarves that I was making for myself, for my friends, for my family, things like that. Then I eventually would make like a couple of 3D items like hats and things like that. And then I eventually made my first blankets, and those were, whoo, let me tell you, I thought, oh, it's just a giant scarf. It's just going to take a little bit longer. I was like, oh my God, blankets take forever. So I don't typically make a whole lot of blankets because they still, to me, take a long time, but I do like the way they look. They are pretty. I do have one blanket design that I have in my Ravelry store. Go check it out. Links below in the description, along with a lot of my other patterns. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I tend to do that sometimes. I apologize. So eventually I started to make other things, amigurumi, three-dimensional items, but I had never made anything really beyond that. And then I would kind of go in and out of doing crochet. I would get really excited about it and then kind of get bored with it and it would drop off everything. Eventually, I decided, you know what? There were a couple of coworkers I wanted to make some scarves for. And a friend of mine told me, you should check out this new yarn store that just opened up in Edmond, which is near Oklahoma City where I live. And I was like, okay. And it was called A Chick That Knits. So I went up there. Cute, perfect little yarn store. All the bright colors, beautifully decorated. It smelled really good. Like, I know that's kind of weird, but like it just... I had been to yarn stores before that it was just kind of like, it's a store with some yarn displayed on some wire racks or something like that. That was not what this was. She had them beautifully displayed on the walls, on these pegs, and there were these like wooden slats behind them, and like she had all this fun decoration, and she had comfy couches and chairs where people could just come in and sit and knit and crochet or do whatever they wanted to. And I was like, this is amazing. But I also knew walking in that this was not the store where I was going to find the $5 acrylic yarn that I was used to working with. This was the nice stuff. This was the superwash merino wool. This was some silky blends. This had some like alpaca and some mohair and things like that. The yarns that I dreamed of but never actually splurged on. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. So I bought a couple skeins of some deluxe like sparkle sock yarn, made a beautiful scarf out of it, and was hooked. Pun intended, I guess. Anyway, so I found out that day when I bought the yarn that they had a weekly knit night. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to go. I want to try it, see how that goes. I go, love it. Found my people. I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly where I need to be. And I know how many knitters, crocheters say that anytime they get with another group of other knitters and crocheters, they always think, these are my people. I found them. The same thing happened to me. It was like a calling. So I went every week as much as I could, and just started making a bunch of friends, including the owner of the store. Her name is Tammy. She is the Chick That Knits, and she is just wonderful, full of love, loves color, loves to experiment with things. She's so generous. And also just so good at what she does. Anyway, I just always have to promote her. You know, she's awesome. But anyway, so one thing that she did is that she got samples made in her yarn to display in the store to show how they work up. And so I was, I had never designed a pattern, and I was interested in doing so, but I was like, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but like a scarf seemed kind of easy. So I asked her if I could make a sample scarf for her and actually design it. And she said, yeah, that would be actually really amazing. So what she does is she provides the yarn for it. and then she pays you in yarn. So you basically do like a little yarn exchange. She gives you the yarn to make the sample, and then you get paid in an equal amount of yarn to make for your own personal project. And I was like, heck yeah, especially for nice yarn like this, I'm totally gonna do that. So that is where I got the ability to make my very first pattern, which was the Roots of Yggdrasil scarf, which incidentally enough is my first tutorial video on my YouTube channel. So definitely go check that out. And if you want to buy the pattern, you can also get that in my Ravelry store. Okay, there we go. Got the little plug there. But when I made it, I was so excited. Like I got to experiment with it. I got to see how the design process worked. I got to see how to actually write a pattern and, see how people read it and if they got confused by it and if they helped me make sense of it. And I got to do like all the math with it. It was just so much fun. And I was like, I want to do that again. So I asked if I could make another sample. So I made a sample scarf again, and that's the Boughs of Yggdrasil, because I was using some like inspiration for both of them and wanted to kind of make a companion to go with it. So you can, of course, get that one. Video for that will come eventually if it's not on there right now. I just got to make them. Anyway, but then she was like, Kelly, how would you feel about making me a sample sweater? And I was like, I have never made a sweater in my entire life. And typically I was like, that's because I think knitters are the ones who make the nice sweaters. Crochet sweaters to me were always just kind of heavy and bulky and just not really flattering. And I'd never found a sweater pattern that I thought looked really great. Now, on women, they've made some amazing women's sweaters with crochet, like with the lace and like the textures and like the dusters and the crop cardigans and just very stylish things. But for men, it was basically just these straight, bulky, plain things. And I was like, I've never done that before. So I said, you know what, that's okay. There's no risk. I'll get free yarn out of it. I'll totally do it. So she found me a pattern on Ravelry, and I worked it up, and I learned so much about how to make a sweater that I was like, I wonder if whether or not, like, I've designed a scarf, I wonder if I could design a sweater as well. So I tried. It was so hard. Like, I was like, oh my God, there's so much, just didn't know how any of the math worked, didn't know how to like make sure that it's shaped right. It was a bottom up sweater. I didn't even know you could do other types of sweaters like top down, or like you do them in pieces and put them together. I eventually learned a lot of this stuff. So I started to think, okay, how do you make a sweater? So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to design a sweater. And that is where the Saxon Sky sweater came out. I, of course, have that pattern available as well, but it was my very first sweater pattern. So I'm sorry. It was never tech edited. It was never tested. I just wanted to put a pattern out there just to see how it goes. But you can still get it. And if you do find mistakes in it, please just let me know and I fix them. I've updated that sweater pattern so many times. But I'm always willing to, like provide updates and help people out with it, because I want to make sure, you get a good sweater out of it. But I was so proud of myself that I just made one. And so I eventually started thinking, I want to make more sweaters. So I designed a couple more, and then I decided, I need to take this to the next level. So then I went to the Crochet Guild of America, the Chain Link Conference in New Orleans, and that was in the summer of 2022, and met even more of my people. You think I met my people at Knit Night? I met them definitely at a crochet convention, and I found that a lot of people were looking for designers, and that's where I met up with people from Furls. I met up with people from Premier Yarns. I met up with people who are also independent designers, but also people who love meeting up with independent designers. And I was lucky because I got to take a couple of classes on pattern writing and sweater design. And it was just amazing. Like, I learned so much more than I ever thought I could. And the teacher in me just couldn't get more excited. I was like, yes, it's like being in school again. It's like, oh my God, I'm learning so much. And now I realize now what mistake I made, and I'm glad I can fix that. And oh my God, now I have to go back and fix all these patterns. I was like, no, just start making new ones. So anyway, ranting again. Basically that has led to making more conscious, better decisions about my pattern design, and making sure that I don't skip the tech editing and the testing part to make sure that my patterns are well written, understandable. Even with support videos, you still want a really well written pattern. So then that way everybody can have all the options to be able to do well. So that is when I decided, you know what, maybe this is something I could do full time. And so going back full circle, that's where I'm at now, is that I decided, after a lot of thinking and budget crunching and things like that, and discussions with my husband, we decided it was okay that this would be my last year. And I just needed to start kind of building my business. So right now I'm, trying to get my presence out on YouTube, got my presence out on Instagram, got my Ravelry shop open. I'm designing patterns. I'm getting published for like yarn companies and magazines. Watch for me in those issues. They will be, popping up. I've got a video ready for one of the patterns that's coming out. I can't tell you anything about it right now at this date, but you'll see it when you see it anyway. But I think that's about enough about me. This is already over about 15 minutes long, and with editing and stuff, even with like kind of intro and outro music and things like that, it's going to be probably closer to like 17, 18 minutes. Thank you so much for sticking with me here. If you think that I might be somebody you'd be interested in seeing grow as time goes by, see the videos that I do put out eventually, please feel free to subscribe, like what you want to, and hit the bell to get notifications when I do upload any new videos. But yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.